Hey everybody, welcome to the Happy Harvest Homestead. This video is a warning to all new meat rabbit colony raisers. Please watch this video all the way through so you know how to avoid the worst colony setup ever that a lot of beginners accidentally do and come to deeply regret later on. Recently, as I've been scrolling through the nether webs of the internet and social media, I see lots of people posting their new colonies. They either just got rabbits and are colony raising from the start, or they used to house their rabbits in cages, but they became dissatisfied with cages and chose to set up a colony. And while obviously I love that people are abandoning the tight, confining, and in my opinion, cruel cage housing system, I can't help but cringe when I see these colonies that these people are using for their rabbits. As most of you know, I have tried basically every colony setup you can imagine, from mobile pasture colonies to cage colonies to wooden floors and digging burrows in dirt floors. And in past videos I have covered bad setups, okay setups, and my best setups, which my current colony is a part of that last group, which I'm so thankful for. That is going so well. But when I first was experimenting with colonies way back, like 4 or 5 years ago, I had the same wrong thinking and made the same wrong assumptions and made the same terrible mistakes and had to fix those mistakes the hard way. So I'm here to tell you, beginners, please listen and don't make the mistakes I did, because while in that instance I didn't suffer greatly and my rabbits weren't deeply affected because my bad setup was just a couple weeks before it failed miserably, things very possibly could have turned out a lot worse, and most or all of my rabbits could very likely have gotten sick or honestly died. I know I have briefly mentioned this in previous videos, but to reiterate, the worst possible rabbit colony setup I can think of is the same setup I see most new colony raisers doing, and that is a static colony on grass. No wire on the floor and wire walls or wooden walls, and maybe they have chain link fence on the top of the colony or a bit of a tarp or something to keep the rabbits quote unquote dry. And I must admit, when you first set it up, it's beautiful. You work so hard putting in your T-posts or building your wooden frame, and then the wire goes on, and you have all these cute hidey houses or tunnels for your rabbits to be in. They have maybe a few chew toys. You make sure to have a food and water bowl, and you put it under the shade so the food stays dry and the rabbits have a place to get out of the sun. And the grass is lush and new and unspoiled. You put your rabbits in, and straight away they start eating and hopping and frolicking, and it's amazing for maybe like 2 or 3 days. And then your rabbits start digging out. But that's easily fixed, it's okay. You go onto Facebook and say, my rabbits escaped, what do I do? Here's a picture of my setup. They go, oh, stupid, you need wire. And you're like, oh, that's right. How did I not think of this? So you put some fencing wire on the bottom, but by this time you're noticing that the grass is getting stubby and low. There's some poop piles in the corners, and then disaster strikes and it rains. There is a summer thunderstorm overnight, and the tarp gets ripped away, and your bowl of pellets is turned to mush, and there's mud spattered everywhere, and your rabbits tried to stay dry under the hidey houses, but they kind of blew away or just didn't really work that well, and now you have a bunch of wet, muddy, mucky rabbits, and the entire floor of the colony is all muddy, and the grass is churned into mush, and the mud and the poop is mixed together, and it has become a terrible mess. By this point in my story, I said, hey, you know what, this is not working. Then I set up a much better colony in our pole barn, where there was a roof and a dirt floor, and then went on to make a whole bunch more mistakes by having them on a bare dirt floor so you'd always dig out, and then there was still poop buildup some places, but at least it was dry and always in shade, and there was no grass for them to eat down to stubble and cause them to get parasites, which is the main problem you will face, the silent killer, if you will, if you leave your rabbits on pasture for more than 24 hours. Maybe sometimes you can get away with a bit longer, like 2 or 3 days, but in all reality, if your rabbits are on pasture at all, whether that be tractors or a colony, or even if you pick a whole pile of weeds and put it in your rabbit cages for them to eat. They should be on fresh pasture every single day because rabbits are super susceptible to parasites. And parasites, we covered this in my poop video, come through their poop. All rabbits have a little bit of parasites, but when they can't move away to fresh grass to keep their parasite load small, they're on the same spot, they're eating the same grass, the parasites crawl into the grass, they're eating more and more parasites accidentally, and their load is getting higher and higher until they get sick and die because you didn't notice because you were too busy caring for your newborn piglets, or you were too busy weeding your garden, or you went on vacation to have a farm sitter and they're all dead. And you're like, what did I do? All I did was try to give them a good life by putting them in a colony so they could have a natural, healthy lifestyle. But in all reality, having a static colony on grass is not natural. Wild rabbits are free, there's no fences, they can roam miles and miles around and selectively eat what they want. They are not confined to a tiny grazing area that's only a couple of 100 square feet. So unless you want to rabbit-proof multiple acres, if you want your rabbits on grass, they must move once a day. And if you want a static colony, either have a solid surface, like wood or cement, that you can sweep the poop off of to keep it clean, or use bedding in your colony and switch out the bedding regularly to keep it clean. Believe me, your future self will thank you greatly if you take the time now to set up a proper colony, even if it's a bit more difficult or more expensive than what you were originally planning. You want to have years and years of colony success, not 3 or 4 days of a picture-perfect colony until all your rabbits either escape or get sick. Thanks for watching!